On the line this morning by Paul Oxley, who is the chairperson of Gun Owners of South Africa, and also Andrew Whitfield, the DA Shadow Minister of Police. Gentlemen, in fact, I see Andrew is ready. Andrew, good morning to you. Welcome to the show. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear now, and obviously we are waiting for Paul Oxley to join us. But Andrew, just your response to this proposed ban on fire ownership for self-defense.
Well, I mean, we've got a number of problems with the bill, but specifically on that question of self-defense, we believe it's completely irrational and unreasonable to remove self-defense as a reason to own a firearm in one of the most violent societies in the world. And, you know, one of the arguments that's being used as well, guns are the ones that are responsible, when in fact in the 2019-2020 year, the police's crime statistics revealed that it was knives that were responsible for committing the most violent crimes across murder, attempted murder, and assault, GPH. There are a number of other instruments that are used in the commission of violent crime, but it's actually criminals that are committing crime, not law-abiding, responsible South Africans for whom their firearm, it is their last line of defense. And so we're very concerned about the legislation.
I see Paul Oxley has joined us as well. Paul, good morning to you.
Good morning, Andrew. Good morning, listeners.
Well, Paul, obviously, you know, you've obviously come out with guns blazing in terms of in responding to, forgive the pun, but I mean, in terms of this proposed ban, and just your thoughts.
Indeed. And what Andrew was saying is absolutely correct. It's just bizarre that in this society at this time, when the police have just chopped 3.6 billion, I think it is, off of the policing budget to protect you and I, and added 1.7 billion to the VIP protection services budget to protect, well, Minister Cele and his mates, that they try to disarm South African citizens, thus depriving us of the means to enforce our constitutional right to self-protection.
Yes, obviously there is a constitutional issue here, Andrew, and I think this is what Paul obviously has pointed out, because, you know, this is something that, you know, again, in terms of people's rights being infringed. But the key issue here at the end of the day, what is the government thinking? What is the wisdom behind this proposal in the first place?
Well, wisdom, I don't want to go into the details of how wise government is, but in this particular instance, I don't think there's a huge amount of wisdom being applied, because wisdom requires hindsight and insight. It requires facts and it requires evidence. And in 2019, the Portfolio Committee on Police actually committed to both the anti-gun and pro-gun lobby that we would host a firearms summit. The chairperson of the committee made that commitment. It's been 2 years. We haven't had that summit. So ultimately, you know, in terms of actual public participation, even before the bill has been gazetted for public comment, there should have been some engagement to really collect the evidence and the facts. And the evidence and the facts, in my opinion, point very much in favor of the pro-gun advocates who are out there. I think that we have sufficient evidence of South Africa being such an extremely violent country that our right to life and our right to defend ourselves are under attack. And the most useful tool for millions of South Africans who choose to use that tool, which is a firearm, is now going to be taken away, which puts the right to life under extremely precarious situation.
Yes. Now, also, Paul, I see, you know, other organizations apart from the Gun Owners of South Africa have expressed their concerns as well. And this includes the South African Arms and Ammunition Dealers Association as well. Now, obviously, there are issues, economic issues for the dealers and those in the business of arms and ammunition. But the key issue, like you mentioned, is the 3 billion budget cut. And this, again, you know, on the one hand, you know, when one looks at the ordinary citizen, obviously without protection, but also you spoke about a bigger budget for VIP protection in the country.
Correct. That's exactly right. We're sitting in a situation where the police have, remember in 2019 in Parliament, and Andrew was there as well, so Andrew, and I'm not telling him anything he doesn't know. The police national commissioner admitted that the police had now become an all-service agency and that they were no longer able to fulfill their constitutional mandate. So the 3.6 billion, which has been wiped out of the policing budget, comes on top of the fact that already for 2 years they haven't been able to protect the South African public. So this is absolutely bizarre. And perhaps somebody just pointed out to me this morning, which I just might like to mention to the listeners. This act or this bill has got self-defense is probably the most odious element of this proposed bill. The other elements of this, which relate to the firearms, the arms and ammunition dealers, is that they are going to virtually wipe out sport shooting, and they are going to virtually wipe out hunting that brings in hundreds of millions of rands of foreign currency every year, specifically into the impoverished rural areas where the hunting, where the game farms are. So this act will, I mean, it eliminates collecting as a whole. I mean, it just takes private firearm collecting off the table with heritage firearms in it. I mean, and it's not, you know, this is not a white and black or anything thing. This is our South African heritage. The heritage of black South Africans, of the Basotho that were engaged in the War of the Gun in the 1800s, that caused the first colonial gun control measures to be imposed. The War of the Gun that led to the formation of the ANC, because black people were being dispossessed of firearms. The ANC is now the people leading the charge against firearms, and mostly from their own people. It's absolutely bizarre.
Andrew, the irony of it all is, and I am led to believe also in terms of restricting imports and exports. Now, on the one hand, where one looks at people trying to protect themselves, self-defense in the country, but we know that South African arms have made their way to countries like Saudi Arabia, and we know what atrocities were committed in Yemen as well, where the government had come under severe criticism over the sale of arms to countries that commit or perpetrate these type of crimes against humanity. So again, you know, on the one hand, you know, you're trying to take away whatever protection your own citizens have, but on the other hand, by obviously selling these type of arms, again, you know, we see other forms of crimes being committed.
Yeah, well, the illicit trade in firearms is certainly something that needs to be looked into. But I think what would be interesting to your listeners is to know that every single year, hundreds of South African police service pistols, firearms, all kinds are lost, in inverted commas, or stolen and end up in the hands of criminals and can be linked back to SAPS. So, you know, there have been corruption cases around SAPS's inability to manage the Central Firearms Registry and other issues. And I think this is a key point, is that SAPS is failing to implement the existing legislation and the already excellent regulations around firearms control in South Africa. And so what they're trying to do is come up with a blanket solution for their failure by simply trying to remove as many guns out of the country as possible, and therefore their problem goes away. They have failed completely to do the basic compliance checks required in terms of the Act. You can't legislate your way out of this. You've got to fix what you have at the moment. And I think that SAPS is really trying to distract South Africans from its own failures, and we can't allow them to do that. I do, however, also, and I mean, it was 3.8 billion rand cut from visible policing and an additional 26 million rand given to the VIP budget. The total VIP budget is 1.7 billion rand, which is a 1,150% increase since 2001, where it started at 135 million. And so you can see where the priorities are. It's completely perverse. But I do think that there are millions of ANC supporters and members who are also opposed to this bill. And we're actually calling on all political parties to see the light and to stand up and contact their members of parliament to sign the petition, regardless of political affiliation. As Paul said, this cuts across all political parties and their membership. And I'm certain that we will be able to put up a strong fight against Minister Cele's draconian piece of legislation.
Well, gentlemen, unfortunately, we have run out of time, but we will definitely pursue this particular aspect. And for now, thank you to both of you, to Paul Oxley and to Andrew Whitfield. We thank you for your time with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
That brings us straight on to 9 a.m. And this is going to be our crossing This live crossing to Al Ansar. Tabile Duma is standing by with the news.